Hey guys, welcome back to the What the Chuck podcast. I'm Brantley McFetridge, your host, and today we're going to be talking about some Chukar soccer. Going to give a discussion of what the future is going to look like here at TVCC when it comes to a soccer program, soccer standpoint in 2026, and so on. Preferably the next 5 years of what things are going to look like. In this show, we're going to be discussing the recruiting classes for both men's soccer and women's soccer for your Chuckers. We're going to be discussing what has happened the last 5 years based on a success standpoint and give kind of a guess to what things are going to look like in the next 5 years, specifically. From a success standpoint, is this program going to go somewhere from where we have already been, or is this program going to decline? Things like that. We're going to be discussing returning athletes for the men's soccer and women's soccer programs. We're going to discuss things like this is a new coaching staffs have been implemented in the last 5 years in these specific programs here at TVCC. We're going to give you some comparison based on numbers, student athletes roster size based on women's and men's programs, compare number of returning sophomores, transfers. That is another big topic we will talk about. Some pipeline stuff, because I love to talk about pipelines when it comes to collegiate recruiting. I'm going to give you some progressive Chukar soccer statistics from the last 5 years. So, overall records from the last 5 years, East Region records, and what things are probably going to look like in the next 5 years in the future, based on the last 5 years, if you know what I'm saying there. And we're going to be discussing some details where we're going to talking about the variety of pipeline stuff and recruiting, all that cool stuff going on. There's some interesting actualities that we have to talk about as well. There's a couple of recruiting deals that's a little bit weird, but they're on the roster, so we're gonna get into that specifically on the show today. So, on What the Chuck, the future of Chukar soccer, the discussion. So, we're gonna start with new Chukar soccer athletes that we will see in 2026, men's and women's soccer. And first, we're going to talk about the 2026 TVCC men's soccer recruiting class. These are the new players you're going to see on the soccer team just out of high school, barely out of high school. There is one transfer. I will say that as we get into this before on. And let's get right into it. This is your recruiting class here. So, Memphis Lopez, Idaho Falls, Idaho. Daniel Chavez from Shelley, Idaho. Kyler Ramos from your own Ontario, Oregon. Wanda Diaz from Bogota, Colombia. Eddie Barrera from Las Vegas, Nevada. Javen Bullock from Nampa, Idaho. Rodolfo Vera from Jerome, Idaho. Jake Key from Fruitland, Idaho. Dylan Rayan from Boise, Idaho. Damian Nagayan from Boise, Idaho. Yuli Soria from Orem, Utah. Isaac Serrano from Las Vegas, Nevada. Christian Almanza from Orem, Utah. Your only transfer on the men's soccer side, Ito Durat from Hilo, Hawaii. He is a transfer from Wisconsin Lutheran College. Evan Hatterley from Linden, Utah. Richard Mungua from Idaho Falls, Idaho. Tristan Howell from Shelley, Idaho. Victor Rivera from Idaho Falls, Idaho. Jaden Garcia from Ontario, Oregon. Another hometown kid there. Alvaro Espinoza from Caldwell, Idaho. Roman Ramirez from Meridian, Idaho. And Saeed Quevedo from Las Vegas, Nevada. There is your very, very impressively deep recruiting class. Very big recruiting class in 2026, which is very interesting because as we go into the women's side, we're going to compare those specific numbers when it comes to size of recruiting class. It's a little bit of a different statistic, which is very interesting, and we got to talk about it specifically. Now, we'll talk about your 2026 returning athletes. Here are the players you're going to see on the team that may look familiar if you're a soccer fan and a Chukar fan. So, Paul Kessler, Juan David Diaz Cardenas, Mario Gastelum, Hayden David, Carlos Beltran, and Rogan Hitt. Those are your returners for the Chukars. And here are two names that are coming out of high school. They're freshmen, but they're not posted on platforms like Instagram and Facebook when it comes to the Chukar Men's Soccer website channel, pretty much. But they're not posted as committed athletes on the site, but they're on the roster when it comes to looking at the NWAC page on the soccer portion of it, looking at the TVCC roster for this year. These two student athletes are on the roster, but they're not shown as committed athletes on Instagram and so on. So based on that little actuality, I think they're obviously on the roster, so we got to talk about them, but it's just a little weird that it's not shown. Maybe they're last minute signings. Maybe that's the case there. But here are the student athletes: Alan Macias and Santino Antrim. So those are your Chukars for men's soccer this year. And the roster size for the men's soccer team in 2026, a very, very depth number with 30 student athletes on the team. Now, 30 student athletes, keep that in your mind as we go into the women's soccer side. We're going to compare these specific numbers. It's going to be an interesting comparison there. Let's just say that. And just looking at this recruiting class, I really love the variety of where we've recruited from. We've got players from the state of Idaho. We've got players from the state of Nevada. We got a couple of hometown kids from Ontario, Oregon. We got Jake Key from Fruitland, Idaho. That's literally 5 miles down the road. You have some Boise student athletes. You've got a couple of Utah student athletes. You even got a kid that is from Bogota, Colombia in South America. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that he is directly from Colombia. Obviously, he probably grew up there, but there are some circumstances where he competed high school soccer in the United States. He's just from Colombia, if you know what I'm saying. We had a couple of examples there when it comes to the basketball a couple of years ago. We had a couple of student athletes from the country of Africa, but they played high school basketball in places like Amarillo, Texas, mostly Amarillo, Texas. There were 3 student athletes from that city, but they're from Africa. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he's directly from South America, but it could mean that, which is a really cool deal there for your Chukar soccer team. Got our one transfer. He transferred from Wisconsin Lutheran, of all places. Couple thousand miles from Ontario, Oregon. That's another thing. It's really cool to learn and realize the concept of transferring out of places in 2026 when it comes to collegiate sports. It's really a concept where you can go from one college and then you can go across the whole United States to play at another college. For example, you could be playing at the University of Maryland. You could be playing Maryland football. You transfer out, you go across the United States, and you decide to play Washington Husky football. It's a random process. It's really cool to understand and realize, but you can jump the gun to pretty much anywhere in the United States, and that is a concept we see here in Ito Durat. Came from the state of Wisconsin all the way to here in Ontario, Oregon. Really great to have him as a Chukar here. A couple of Vegas student athletes. Really impressive recruiting class for your men's soccer team in 2026. Now, we're going to talk about 2026 TVCC women's soccer recruiting class. Here are the new faces for your women's team in 2026. Ashanti Tapia from Boise, Idaho. Haley Bachman from Nampa, Idaho. Yasleen Gonzalez from Nampa, Idaho. McKenna Hibden from Emmett, Idaho. She is either a sister or cousin to another student athlete on the team. Leoness Williams from Henderson, Nevada. Ava Flores from Pocatello, Idaho. Alexis Berkey from Botters Ferry, Idaho. Zoe Moore from Snowbird, Idaho. Kenna Monk, Rigby, Idaho. She is your lone transfer on the team. She transferred out from Walla Walla. Great to have her here as a Chukar. Terrace Caraway from Kuna, Idaho. Kenley Fewitt from West Haven, Utah. And to round out the soccer recruiting class for the women this year, Italia Castro Guerrero from Caldwell, Idaho. Those are your new faces for the Chukars this year. Our lone transfer, Kenna Monk, she is from Rigby, Idaho, and she transferred out of Walla Walla. Understandable, want to be closer to home. I think that is the actuality there. 2026 returners. So, here are the faces you will see again in a Chukar uniform. Abby Nunez, Madeline Williams, Aries Day, Madison Hibden, sister or cousin, I'm assuming, to McKenna Hibden, a freshman coming in. Ruby Roca Gutierrez, and Abby DeGroot. And your 2026 Chukar women's soccer roster size, 18 student athletes. Now, realizing that the men's team has 30 and the women's team has 18, we're going to go into a comparison part of the show where we're going to talk about those certain actualities there. So, women's and team comparison based on statistical numbers. Number of student athletes on the roster. The men have 30 student athletes on the roster and the women have 18. Number of transfers into the program. The men have 1. Ito Durat from Wisconsin Lutheran College, and women 1. Kenna Monk from Walla Walla Community College. Great to have them here as Chukars. Number of returning sophomores into the programs. The men have 6 returners, and the women have 6 returners. Who would have thought? I didn't even realize that statistic until I went through this process of getting ready for the show. Now we got to talk about my one of my favorite things to talk about when it comes to collegiate sports and sports in general. Mostly collegiate because it's recruiting. Pipeline similarities. So, did these two teams recruit from the same areas? Did they recruit from completely random areas that are different based on the men's or women's side of soccer? So, number of players recruited from Idaho. The men recruited 12 players from Idaho and the women recruited 8. Number of players from Oregon. The men have 2 and the women have 0 players from the state of Oregon. Very interesting statistic there. Number of players recruited from the state of Utah. The men have 3 players and the women have 2 players. Number of players recruited from Nevada. Men have 3 and the women have 1. And the number of players internationally recruited. Men have 1 and the women have 0. So, based on these pipeline numbers here, the favorite state to recruit from when it comes to the men is the state of Idaho. And for the women, it is also the state of Idaho, which makes sense. That is a similar concept when it comes to volleyball, too. They had a lot of Idaho recruiting student athletes. Idaho's right by us. We're literally on the border of Oregon, Idaho on the Snake River. Makes a lot of sense. So, there is that. Now, we're going to talk about some progressive Chukar soccer statistics from the last 5 years for your Chukars. Now, this concept is going to be, we're going to talk about overall records for the team in each specific year, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. Overall records from that year and the East region record from that year. We're also going to be giving you winning percentages from each year for the men and women, just to give you a stat of if the winning percentage got better as these 5 years went on to where we're at now in 2026. Or if they're complete outliers, if they're completely random numbers based on each year. It's based on the year. That seems to be the concept when it comes to NWAC sports. It's a year-to-year basis. You could have a team that goes 0-15 one year, and then you got a team that goes 15-0 and they win the NWAC championship the next year. It's a cool process. It's an interesting process, but it's a very year-to-year concept here in the Northwest Athletic Conference in most circumstances, based on success being such a randomized statistic. It's a really cool concept, and I actually prefer that, just to see like out of nowhere stuff going on. That's one of the great things about sports. So, let's get into it. Progressive Chukar soccer statistics from the last 5 years. In 2021, your TVCC women's soccer record, an overall record of 1-13. East region record was 1-11. A winning percentage that year of .071. Not good. I'll say that. 2021, the men's soccer team had an overall record of 0-14 and 1 tie. East region record was 0-11 and 1. Winning percentage was .033. They didn't win a game. We'll just put it there in 2021. Kind of a rough year for your Chukars. In 2022, the women's soccer team had an overall record of 0-15, an East Region record of 0-13, and a winning percentage of literally 0. Now, I hate to talk about this because this is a very negative actuality when it comes to the Chukar soccer program, but they didn't win a game, and they didn't tie. They lost every single match they had in the year of 2022 for the women's team. Yikes. Let's just say that. Put it there. There's that. Get that out of the way. Men's team that year in 2022, overall record of 1-11-2. East Region record 1-10-1. A winning percentage of .143, which is a little better. It's not good. It's not in the good category, but it's better. Better winning percentage. 2023, the women had an overall record of 2-13-1. Better than the year before. East Region record 1-12-1. A winning percentage of .156. 156 winning percentage. 2023, the men's soccer team had an overall record of 2-9-4. East Region record 1 win, 8 losses, and 3 ties. A winning percentage of 267, which is better for the men. Definitely the best so far when it comes to winning percentage, for sure. In 2024, the women's team had an overall record of 5 wins, 9 losses, and 1 tie. East Region record was 3 wins, 8 losses, and 1 tie. Winning percentage was a 367. Very great, very good jump there. You go from a 2-win team to a 5-win team. It doesn't seem like much, but based on where we've gone as a soccer program, that's quite impressive for that to be the actuality. The men's team in 2024 had an overall record of 0 wins, 10 losses, and 2 ties. The East Region record was 0 wins, 9 losses, and 1 tie. Winning percentage was a 0.83. So there is that. 2025, and the overall record for the women, 6 wins, 9 losses. Really good jump there. East Region record, 4 wins, 8 losses, winning percentage of 400. Overall record, 1-12 for the men. 1 win, 12 losses in 2025. East Region record was 0 wins, 10 losses, and their winning percentage was 77. So, giving you the overall overview, breakdown of what has happened in the last 5 years for the women's and men's team as a soccer program, not necessarily good. Let's just say that. That is why I want to. This is why we're doing this show today, because in my mind, just looking at this, I don't think you can get any worse to where the point we were than the last 5 years. I think you can only get better, and if we get worse, that is reason for concern. I think based on having new coaching staffs and a new concept, new recruiting pipelines, every factor there, we can only get better from here, and that's why you have to be excited about this program. Because women's based, we go from a 2021 record of 1 win and 13 losses, and you get your way up to 6 wins and 9 losses, which again doesn't seem like a huge jump, but it actually is. Based on a 5-year progressive statistic, you go from a winning percentage of 71 to a 400. That's quite impressive, and you have to look forward for the future for the women's soccer team. Now, men's side, you go from, in 2021, you have a 33 winning percentage, and then last year a 77. In the last 5 years, their highest point as a team, they had a 267 winning percentage in 2023. Again, you can only get better from here, I would say. But technically they got worse based on 2021 to 2025. But there's just so many new factors that we have to put into place here where we just got to continue to improve. Continue to improve on a linear scale year by year. It's not going to be quick. Hopefully we see this, but you're not going to see our team have a 1-12 loss record last year, and then you win the NWAC championship next year. I hope that is the case, obviously, but it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. But there's a positive out of this because, like I said, you can only get better from here. So I'm excited for the future ahead. Now, to wrap up this little portion of the show, the Chukar men's soccer winning percentage in the last 5 years, all added up, the men's soccer team won about 12.3% of their games in the last 5 years. That is not good. Not good. But we can only get better. We can only get better. Hang in there, guys. Hang in there. Chukar women's soccer winning percentage in the last 5 years. They've won about 20% of their games. So, the women have won 8% more of their games than the men's team. There's a factor there. Got to take that into consideration going into the process of the next 5 years in Chukar soccer. I know this seems like a long road ahead based on what we've heard today, what we've seen on the show today. But you got to hang in there. That's sports for you. That's sports. Some things take a very lengthy time, but it always pans out in the end. It's like a rebuild in professional sports. For example, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. Put that there. We're technically in a rebuild concept in 2026. Now, technically, it's not a full-on, hands-down rebuild, but in our eyes as a fan perspective, it's pretty much a rebuild. And it's gonna take a minute. Us Miami Dolphins fans don't expect us to go 17-0 this year. I'd love for us to go. I want to win the next 10 Super Bowls. I don't want to lose a game in the rest of our history as a franchise. But that is not the actuality in sports. Things take a minute, and we got to hang in there. But that'll about do it for today's show on What the Chuck. I'm Brantley McFetridge. Thank you so much for watching this show. In the future, we're obviously going to give you a schedule analysis on the cross-country team. Get ready for that show. A couple more soccer discussions, I am assuming, and I'm going to get right into volleyball as well. The season's coming up. Soccer season's coming up. I will say this, I mostly base this fall season on volleyball, just because there are some instances where competitions happen at the same time. Soccer could be on the road and volleyball could be at home. Volleyball could be away and soccer could be at home. So it'll be a very, very this, that concept here on the show, but mostly volleyball, just because they are the team that I honestly understand volleyball more as a sport. I'd love to break down soccer and all that. Obviously, we'll give you previews and we'll give you post game stuff as well based on statistics, but I can't be at two places at once. So I will relate more to volleyball concept there. But thank you for watching this show today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Go Chucks.